I love to plan. I love to practice things, to make lists. You know, actually, when I was practicing for doing this up here, I did it like 25 times in front of my mirror with the stopwatch, and you know, that's how I roll. I got no shame in it. It's cool, yeah. And it's helped me, you know, it served me well in some situations. Like when I was in undergrad, I did a self-designed major, and I graduated in 3.5 years, where a lot of the kids graduated in 5 or 6, and then later I got like a social entrepreneurship fellowship in New York City, and then did a self-designed major in my master's in education. And then I was part of the way through that degree, and I realized I was tired. I had done all this planning and all this practicing, and I realized I had never taken a break. I had never taken a vacation. Like many of my middle class peers, I had never left the country, and so I decided that's what I was going to do, that over the January term I was going to take a break, I was going to take a vacation, and I was going to leave the country. And so of course I meticulously planned all of this, and it was very goal oriented. I decided I was going to do an immersion, a Spanish language immersion. I researched the best Spanish language schools for me, and I found a place that I really liked outside of Guatemala City, a good hotel to stay in the first night in Guatemala City, and I packed every single thing I could possibly need, and then I got to the airport, as I'm prone to do, about 4 hours early, and then finally I made it onto the plane. And on the plane I was sitting next to this really lovely couple. The woman was just like a little bit older than me, she was really beautiful, and the guy was somewhat older, sort of distinguished looking, and I decided I like practicing, so I'm gonna practice my Spanish with them. So I found out that her name is Luna, and that they had just been to Disney World and had a great time, and they're coming back to Guatemala City where they live. And the plane is descending down into the city, and I realized, oh, the one thing I have not planned for is how to get a taxi from the airport to my hotel. So I think, well, you know, I'll ask Luna. So I ask her, you know, is it easy to get a taxi? I've never been out of the country. Maybe they do things differently in Guatemala, I don't know. And she says, well, actually, it's a little bit complicated, but I'll show you. So great. So we get out, we go to baggage claim. Luna and my bags come first. So we said, you know, we'll go out, we'll get the taxi, and he'll meet us when his bags come. And so we're about to get the taxi, and all of a sudden, this older woman comes running over to us. She looks furious. She's really angry. She's got this hair wrapped up on the top of her head, and she grabs Luna's arm, and she starts screaming at her. And I haven't done the immersion yet, so I don't really know Spanish. But I actually can tell that this woman is screaming at Luna, "You fucking bitch! You took my husband and you went to Disney World." You know, Luna's not really saying anything. I'm kind of trying to back away gracefully, like, okay, nice to meet you, bueno de conocerte. And Luna grabs my arm and she says, no, don't leave me. And so, you know, angry woman is grabbing on Luna's arm, and Luna's grabbing onto my arm, and all of a sudden, Guy comes out of the baggage claim, and he sees all three of us standing there, and his face just drains of color, goes totally white. And I was like, what the fuck is gonna go on now? And he starts to walk to us really slowly, and he's like gaining his composure as he's walking, and I'm like, what is this guy gonna do? And I will never forget this. He takes his wife's arm, kisses her on the cheek, and he walks away. He never even looks at Luna. And we're just standing there, and she's quiet for a second, and then she says in Spanish, fucking asshole, he told me he was divorced, let's get a cab. And she drags me into the cab. And so we're in the cab, she gives the cab driver her address, and then I start to give the cab driver my address, and she grabs my leg and she says, no, this cab is very expensive, we'll get a cheaper cab at my house. Oh, okay. So now, I have not planned for this. There's no practicing. We're in a strange country, in a strange cab, with a strange lady going, I don't know where. So, and the cab driver's driving really crazily. He's going all these hairpin turns. He's driving not quite on his side of the road. She keeps grabbing my leg every time he just does something crazy, and I'm just hoping everything's gonna go okay. And finally we get out at her house, and I'm relieved because it looks just like a house, you know. And so we get out, And we get to the door, and on her door is a mezuzah, which she kisses, and this is a Jewish custom, and I didn't even know there were Jewish Guatemalan people. And I say, "Are you Jewish?" And she says, "Yeah. Are you?" And I said, "Yeah." And so she takes me inside, and instead of calling me a cab, she pulls out 2 beers from her fridge and a whole bunch of food. And we spend the whole night talking about how our families migrated from Eastern Europe to the Americas, talking about relationships and heartache, and talking about the delicious food of Guatemala. And then late into the night, she calls me a cab, and I go back to my hotel. And that night, I learned one of what I think has been one of my most important life's lessons. I got sort of a glimpse of it, and I've been practicing it ever since, which is that while many important and meaningful things come from practicing, from planning, and from doing it yourself, that some of the most beautiful and meaningful life experiences come from listening, come from the unexpected, and from letting the day unfold.